All right, YouTube, ChroNoSo, we are here to break down Buster Douglas, the referee, in the Hulk Hogan and Macho King Randy Savage WWF title match at the main event number 3 from February 1990. Mike Rossi, we're usually here on YouTube to do match previews, but we're here to do I would say, epic, monumental, adjacent review. Overall, how you feel about Buster Douglas leading into this match?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good timing spot for him. He just beat Mike Tyson, and he comes into this spot that was meant for Tyson, right? But obviously, you can't have someone off a loss being a ref between two of your biggest stars, right?
Yeah, what'd you think? Kind of the subtle shots at Tyson throughout the night. If it's Mean Gene or if it's really Buster Douglas hammering him, kind of just shot after shot at Tyson. Let's kind of talk about Tyson before we jump into this.
Yeah, they probably were just super disappointed that, Tyson was obviously a much bigger star for the marquee at this point. Not being, I mean, obviously this feels a lot bigger even today if it's Mike Tyson as the referee, instead of Buster Douglas.
Yeah, the history within the WWF is maybe a little bit different, of course. I wonder if 97, 98 means as much if actually Tyson shows up here. He did do a Superstars promo that me and Eli talked about in the last ChroNoSo, but that's it really. It was like an 8 to 9 second blurb saying, "I'm coming to the main event and no one better get out of line." And it was pretty much at that tone. So
right.
they had him. They were going to pay him, but Buster cashed in. You think he got the same amount?
Probably not. That was probably another area they were like, oh, we can save a little bit of money.
Yeah. But all right. So Mike, just unlike 2024, this main event opens with cold openings. Macho's up first, and he warns Hogan that he has thunderous fists, and Buster Douglas better stay in line because if one left doesn't, the right one will. Kind of just saying that he has thunderous fists. But what'd you think of that? Bam, bam. Oh yeah, I thought that was pretty electric.
I thought it was pretty good. I definitely think it fit the mood. He probably had that one planned for weeks. And whether it was Tyson or Buster Douglas, he did mention Tyson too, saying that he thought it was going to be the baddest man on the planet that was going to be his referee, but instead it's the guy that beat the baddest man on the planet. So I thought that was kind of a cute line. And then obviously Sherry pulled it all together at the end. She was such a good second to Macho during this heel run.
Absolutely. They fit like a glove for sure. And then we had Tunney with Earl, Buster Douglas, and Douglas's non-charismatic trainer. And all they kind of did here was take shots at Tyson, right? Like They were just like, "Are you ready, Buster?" And then he took 2 or 3 shots at Tyson. But I kind of like the presentation where he was focused on Buster, not the crowd, right?
Right.
Not the people at home. I thought it was pretty cool.
It felt like it was like already like Buster pandering for a second Tyson match fight, right? It makes more money off of it.
Like poking the bear a little bit, right?
Right,
so, yeah, that
exactly.
Makes sense. Yeah, and then the last cold opening was your typical Hogan electric promo, and there was a lot of explosion coming that night, and we would see it. So at least there was foresight within Hogan's structure of a promo, like there usually is, hidden subtle messages, and there was a lot of explosion tonight in the ring, out of the ring, with Macho, even with Warrior too, as we'll get to. But overall, I thought that was a fun cold opening. All right, and then Mean Gene with Sherry. Macho pretty much showing off his guns. They continue to throw shade at Tyson, but in a way to put over Douglas. And Sherry vows the Hulk Hogan will end his title reign tonight. We'll put a squash on WrestleMania, and Savage will be your new world champion. So I like that they kind of, at the end of the promo, they were like, oh yeah, there's a Hogan Warrior match that you guys will kind of get some juice at later on. So always foresight within these promos, which I like.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was good. I mean, this was such a good package. The King and the Queen, it just worked so well.
Yep. And then Howard welcomes Macho and Sherry to the ring, and they're carried on their throne by a bunch of jobbers. So pretty typical from this era, but it was pretty cool to look back on. And they're just so fucking on their like royal little whatever it is. They just look so like such big stars. It's just hits me in the feels from a nostalgia point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just this show was centered around the 3 biggest stars in the company at the time. And mostly 30-35 minutes of programming, and they all looked good coming out of it.
And Dino Bravo,
right. And the Earthquake, who was probably like 18 years old at this point.
which is crazy. He really was in his early 20s, but yeah, that's unbelievable, right? He looks like he's about 45.
Right.
All right, double duty for Mean Gene and primetime Hulk Hogan. And he's going to run wild on Macho, and he'll run wild on Buster if he has to as well. So, typical Hogan, but it's effective.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And like the presentation of Buster, like they didn't really make him feel like a big deal, but he looked like a big deal once he was on the ring,
Yeah. I felt that he was better in this promo with Mean Gene here, and he would kind of warm up as longer as it went because he's like a deer in the headlights both times, especially in the cold opening. That's why I think that they pivoted with the manager and had him face Buster so they didn't have to, like, I don't know, just to kind of distract him a little bit, right? But
right.
Yeah. Mean Gene for the third time in a row. This guy's a fucking workhorse. But anyways, he puts over the shocking win and tells Buster that he has done it all for the right reasons. And Mike, what are those 3 reasons why Buster Douglas defeated Mike Tyson? Why did he have it in him to do it? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
All right. So anyways, he did it for himself, and then he did it for his country, and then he did it for his mother.
Hey, that's what all people strive for at that day and age, right?
But most importantly, his mother, right? So if you work hard, your dreams will come true. And he took it, and despite this like happy, like loving, family-like presentation, he still takes a final shot at Tyson. When Gene says, "Are you happy to be here?" He was like, "Yeah." When his tail between his legs, that's why I'm here. But ultimately, I'm doing this because this boxing champion was scheduled to be here, and I'm now the world champ. And I was just like, oh, that's a little weird, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, he wasn't loaded with charisma. It wasn't bad, but he didn't have the charisma that Tyson would have in this spot.
No, he's low-key likable, honestly, in a way,
For sure,
right?
He was. Babyface.
Yeah, but the shots at Tyson, I don't know, they just feel forced. But like you said earlier, they're just kind of crawling for a fucking rematch, probably just to make the money, right?
Right, absolutely.
All right, we start with the match. What did you think of the match? Your typical match from this era, built around high spots, a lot of low lights. The high spots
slow.
Yeah.
Like, what was it, like 11 and a half minutes? I think Hogan had the first 5 and Macho had the last 5. And then the final minute was just the finish, which was your typical, lot of Macho going to the top, trying to fly out of the ring and, axe handle Hogan when he was standing outside. And then right back into the ring, back to the top rope. Had a really good, believable near fall towards the end of the match with, an elbow that he hit. It was weird, the presentation of Buster Douglas, though. Like, he comes running out after there's already a referee in the ring. So he was kind of more of like the ringside enforcer. He was pretty slow to act when Sherry was choking Hogan. I felt like he was kind of just letting her do his thing, and Jesse sold it as he was being a gentleman. But then he tossed her, and then not only did he toss her, he like pretty much chased her to the back, like to the point they said they had to go to right, saying they had to pretty much go to commercial while Buster Douglas was running to the back to make sure Sherry got back there. And then they come back from commercial, and this is what I thought was interesting. Not like a picture-in-picture where you saw what was happening in the ring, like we might see today. But as he's coming back to the ring, you can hear the bell ring again.
Yeah,
even though I thought that was weird because the match was very, very currently still going on to the point that the bell rang, and by the time he got to the ring, Hogan was in a chokehold, and the ref was trying to, make sure he wasn't out cold.
I think they held that chokehold the whole friggin' 3 minutes that this escalade went on. So, yeah, interesting. Like a lot of downtime, like I said earlier, it was built on trying to get to a high spot, but then cutting each other off and then being grounded with a lot of, to be nice to say, middling, monotone groundwork, right?
There's a house show match with a higher end finish, we'll say.
Yeah, well, that finish would be when Hogan went to the outside, Macho went to go cut him off. Hogan gave him a big right. They double dunked with Earl. And then Macho was laying down and Hulk gave him a big leg drop. And then Buster slid in the ring for a, Jesse would call it fast 1, 2, 3, but it was a pretty slow 1, 2, 3.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was faster than like Hebner would have been, but so I think that's why it didn't have that dramatic effect. You just counted to three, like someone would count to three, but it wasn't like your modernized, like boom, 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 like, you know, you would have a heel do, you know?
Yeah. Overall, it was rather effective because I liked that it didn't like wear away Macho, that it was just a double noggin knocker with the regular ref. It gave Macho beef to have this angle here with Buster post match, and he didn't really get a lot of like, he wasn't necessarily beaten to shreds, right? He just got a leg drop, he was caught, and he got a 1-2-3. So he was able to, from like a psychology standpoint, so to speak, right, jump up right away and be like, "What the fuck, Buster?" And then I do love how Macho was. What did you think of Macho's moves? Like, I do love him hamming it up, right?
Yeah.
Him trying to play it up with Buster. Because he did threaten with the 1-2 left, right, and then
he had the footwork down.
Yeah, it was like he was practicing it, and you could see in his face that he was really enjoying the moment.
Yeah, and like back to the finish, like I thought that it made Macho look pretty good because he hit the elbow drop clean. Hogan kicked out and immediately hulked up. And then, you know, obviously Hulk was like a superpower at that point. He hits the one leg drop and that was it, but nobody was kicking out a one leg drop at that point. So it's not like Macho looked bad with that. And the count was just, and with the selling really, or by that Ventura had, just quick enough that Ventura could say that, which made Macho look even better.
Yeah. They honestly kind of protected Macho this whole night, really, in a way, because they knew he was doing a job and he was getting knocked out, and he's going to look pretty much strong for Dusty in a few months, right? So,
right, exactly.
Yeah. And he's leading the second house show with Dusty, so there is some importance to that, of course.
Yeah, it was clear that past Warrior, he was next in line. You know what I mean? He was the third from the top as far as star power went.
Yeah, and he was the top heel, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, because they were pretty much doing baby, yeah.
Yep, so he's knocked out. It's what did you think of that punch? Did they botch the first one, and then Macho was like, "You botched it. I got my chin still here. Like, load up." Yeah.
Macho was just being a worker. He didn't want to have to sell for the one that didn't look so perfect, I think.
Yeah, because the first one looked like it was like a little stiff, but it was just like all upper body. And the second one, he cocked back and then pulled it at the last second. Looked
right,
good.
And Buster didn't really seem like he knew what was going on after the first one, so it worked out. I think at the end of the day, it had the effect that they needed.
Yeah, I felt like Savage was staring at him with his chin up for like 4 seconds, like, "Motherfucker, hit me. What the hell,
yeah,
dude?"
Do it again, yeah.
But yeah, back to Tyson. This would have been much more memorable and historically looked upon and just being, really cool. But this still was a pretty cool moment for Buster, right? And it worked.
It did. I mean, and he looked like a monster. He was a big boy standing next to Hogan and Macho. He had a good aura to him. While the ref, while Earl got knocked down, he was quick to act, maybe a little bit too quick, but for someone that probably had zero, like much of knowledge for wrestling going into this, I think he performed his role well, especially with the Sherry stuff. It kind of took him a while to get his comfort with her. They probably didn't go through this very often. But at the end of the day, it held the effect. And, I feel like that ringside move for him was better than him being just a straight up referee, like we might see in modern day wrestling in this spot,
Yeah. All right. Well, Hulk and Buster would celebrate as Hulk is the one that threw Macho into him for the knockout punch. And they became chummy here. And this is kind of the part of ChroNoSo where we're going to tail off to the end and let Tim come in and tell us about the Macho Man match. But for YouTube, Mike, let's fast forward a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
And we're going to go to the post match with Warrior, Earthquake, and Dino Bravo, where Earthquake is about to squash the Warrior. But the whole thing with the Hulk Hogan is once Hogan in Warrior had the ultimate challenge, Hulk Hogan promised the Hulkamaniacs that the Warrior would go into that match at WrestleMania 6 at 100%, and Hogan would have his back, and he didn't want to that victory that he's going to get at WrestleMania 6 to have any blemishes. So Hulk Hogan promised the Hulkamaniacs that Warrior would go in to toe. So he sent some, I think he sensed some trouble with Earthquake lingering here on Warrior, that he was going to get him not 100%. And Hulk made the save, and Warrior was not happy about that save. What do you think of this transition to kind of shift everything from Macho to Warrior for the rest of the night for Hulk and Buster?
I think it worked out. I think the flow of the show was pretty good because, Macho kind of got eliminated when he got knocked out, right? So, And then they got right back to business with hyping up the Mania match. So I think it all went well, and it kind of made Earthquake look like somebody that was a competent next up as well. If Hogan was to win, like maybe Earthquake would be waiting in the wings from there. So I thought that all in all, they did a really good job at making, again, every single person on the show look good in one way or the other. It's not like anybody got like truly buried. Even Macho, like he got knocked out by a guy that just knocked out Mike Tyson. So at the end of the day, that's not bad. And Earthquake and Dino were, formidable heels. They were even in the pre-match promo for the Warrior Bravo match, like they were questioning Earthquake. So you could tell that they were really trying to get Earthquake to that next level. And anybody that was involved in a Hogan Warrior build at that point was going to benefit from that.
Yeah. All right. And then we would have Vince with Hogan after the break. And Hulk can't believe that Warrior would think that Hogan was trying to take him out, right? Warrior thought that Hulk was there to try to take him out, but he was really there to try to save him because, like I just said earlier, he promised the Hulkamaniacs that he would have his back leading into this. But Jesse also said that he was trying to steal the spotlight. So that was Vince's first question to Hulk, that are you trying to steal the spotlight from the Ultimate Warrior on this night? And then Hogan pretty much doubled down on the Hulkamania thing, saying, I told them I'd have Hogan Warrior's back leading into the Ultimate Challenge. So what did you think of that reasoning from Hulk? And is this enough? Is there enough meat on the bone here heading into WrestleMania 6 between these babyface versus babyface? A little unconventional for Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania, and a little unconventional for the WWF in general to have massive babyfaces face each other. How do you think they're doing so far?
I think the build in the Rumble was really all they really needed, right? But they had to obviously fill the void and the hype between now and then. And like now in the 2024 day and age, they would do probably an event in Toronto to like hype up the show when they can both cut promos and do stuff that they didn't really have the TV time that they have now. They didn't have the wherewithal to do those type of pressers that we might see nowadays. So going this route was kind of the conventional like paint by numbers babyface way to do things. Like they're not going to brawl beforehand because it's the biggest match that the company had. So they kind of wanted to save their physicality. So I thought it was a very logical thing. It continues the babyface Hogan because he's doing what he said he would do. While it also kind of gives Warrior that bit of confusion because he's coming for Hogan's title, but Hogan's got his back. Like Warrior didn't really seem to understand how it was going down. And Ventura, obviously being the heel that he was skeptical of Hogan's motives along the way too. I liked how they were doing like Vince would show him what had happened in the match. And then Hogan had to comment on that. I thought that was a pretty well done thing. And again, I feel like for a 35 minute show, it felt like everything was just one angle from beginning to end. And I feel like these promos at the end really just tied everything together and kind of made you want to come back for more,
Yeah, extremely effective from that aspect. Really to build a lot of, I don't want to say heat, more anticipation, right? Because there's no heat. We got babyface versus babyface. It's all anticipation. It's the Ultimate Challenge. And honestly, in Superstars from week to week, Jesse is the heel when they do these weekly Hogan and Warrior promos. Jesse would be the one that would be the heel, kind of just taking a side of each guy on the opposing side. So it's interesting that they use Ventura throughout it. And really here, he was a key point too, to add these logic points between them without either guy looking heelish in the way. So it's pretty effective, honestly.
Right.
From
It's honestly,
way.
When you're going to do baby, it's good to have Jesse as kind of the heel that kind of pushes the narrative when you don't want the babies to. Like it worked out really well.
Yeah, it's smart. All right. And then we got Gene with Warrior. A lot of nonsense. I love the backdrop. The backdrop looks awesome. Like he's in a locker room, but they made it his own with all his Warrior memorabilia and stuff around like that. It feels like he's like a bigger deal with that presentation. I thought it was really cool instead of like a basic backdrop that they would have for everyone else. So I really thought that was a cool attention to detail, and it made him stand out from the rest of the wrestlers. And pretty much what I got from this was a lot of Warrior nonsense, but he said that the red and yellow can't hide Hulk from, I see you're referring to Hulkamania. and he doesn't need face paint on his face to hide his colors of whatever. So it was like a prelude that he's going to have not a lot of face paint on at WrestleMania 6, which he doesn't. He has the little cheek on it, which is Vince a way to kind of humanize him in a way too, because he can't be like this bombastic warrior if he's going to be the headliner of the company. He needs to have some human elements. And perhaps maybe that's why we see him fail in this run, so to speak, give it or take a little bit for whatever it is. Maybe they change him up too much. I don't know if he has much. My thing is, he doesn't really have much depth to his character. It's all the boom, oh, the explosion. That was a big explosion. But when the dust settles, it was just an explosion. That's my whole thing with the Warrior. Even despite him having a fantastic resume and big matches, I just think he lacks overall depth. So you can see a little bit of them trying to try things here. I wonder if this is the first thing of them kind of saying or hinting that this is why we're taking his face paint off at WrestleMania 6 in a way too, right? Because he put it on his chest and a little bit on his cheek.
Right, and to the point we were making earlier with like the babyface thing, like it was a different type of promo that you needed out of Warrior at this point, because he wasn't talking about like the dastardly heel that he wanted to take down for all the Warriors, you know. It was more, you know, these are the two guys at the top of the mountain. I'm trying to figure out that I am the top guy at the mountain, and obviously said in Warriors mumble and jumbo. But what I really appreciate about Warrior promos during this time of his career was you would get him with a little bit more sensibility, if he ever had sensibility at all, in his pre-match promos while he was fired up trying to amp himself up to go have his match. But then his post-match promos where like the paint would be peeling off, you know, he'll have a little bit more of a like off edge to him. And I really thought that the post-match type promos got more across to what was coming next, as it did here, to the point you made about like the small little intricacies, when his pre-match promos are normally just like the ramblings of a lunatic, you know?
Yeah. All right. But overall, I'm pretty hyped for this. We're going to do a big countdown. Me and Dave Hall are going to like look week to week at each superstar and see what they do going into WrestleMania, like we did for the Mega Powers last year. We're going to do this here. And I wasn't really looking forward to it because I didn't think it had the substance that the Mega Powers had, but that's a top 5 frigging story in the company history. Top 2, probably top 3, or even 1 in some people's eye, of course. So I just live it up to that high bar, and this isn't meeting it. But overall, I'm pretty excited for this match. It's unconventional, but I think they're doing a good job. But first, before I get your thoughts on that, Buster Douglas with me and Gene one last time. And Gene goes, "Buster, did you have fun?" And he goes, "I had a blast." And he's like, "Hulk's a really good guy. We're going drinking." And Gene's like, "You guys are going drinking? What?" He goes, "Yeah. Hulk's a buttermilk kind of guy, and I'm a whole milk kind of guy." And like Gene's like laughter in relief that they're not going really drinking and they're going like milk drinking.
It's like nervous. It was like nervous laughter. Yeah.
Was just amazing. But like, he was like, oh, that's fucking all. Like, I don't know. It's just Gene's a pro. You see it. Him and Ventura add so much to this time period. And you can see it here. Gene's just awesome. And I honestly, as the night grew, I liked Buster more and more.
They did, and he got more comfortable with each time he was on screen, which was good to see, because some people are like deer in the headlights once and they say that way, but he had a little bit of natural charisma that came out as the night went on.
Yeah, it was good stuff. So overall, I think this is a success. The match, 2.5, 3 stars. It was good enough. There was enough high points within the match to have some substance. Gaga, but overall, like you said earlier, it was a typically house show match that, you know, with its filler or whatnot. But overall, great presentation with a fair to good match.
It did what the main event did what it needed to do. Like, I think of like modern age wrestling. Like, if they do a Saturday Night's main event the week before the Rumble, it's going to be a selling point for the Rumble, and that's what this felt like, was a selling point to WrestleMania, while also, you know, just letting people know, hey, you know, Earthquake, this guy might be next up, and then Macho's still a star. So, like I said, everybody looked good. It only took 35 minutes or so of TV to get there. And at the end of the day, you know, everybody's more excited for what happens next coming out of this show.
And it's crazy. They fill all that time, right? And they use 5 wrestlers in a boxer. That's it.
Right.
That's pretty cool stuff. But all right, Rossi, you're usually here on me with pay-per-view preview matches in post shows when we can get together. But it was fun to hear you on ChroNoSo, as we do on every other episode pretty much. So it was good to see your face on YouTube for some ChroNoSo.
Yeah, it's been fun to be here, and we'll look forward to what's going down on the road to Mania 6.
Awesome. All right, Mike, see you on the next one. Thanks, buddy.
All right, later, pal.